Why did the Ford Motor Company go through a stage of naming their cars after adult magazines? Hello and welcome to Everything's Fine, probably your weekly antidote to bad news, and this week, unbelievably, our 50th episode.
Hurrah!
50, half century of episodes.
Yay.
A golden jubilee of trying to locate optimism in a collapsing information ecosystem. 50 consecutive attempts to prove the world is not entirely broken, despite the best efforts of men with podcasts, men with columns, and above all, Donald J. Trump. If ever there was a week that reminded us why this show exists, it's this one. Donald Trump has spent the week threatening to send Iran back to the Stone Age, which, to be fair, does seem broadly in line with the domestic policy blueprint he's trialling on America. He's also posted one of those truly unhinged, expletive-riddled social media rants that now arrive with such frequency they barely even qualify as news anymore, except for the tiny constitutional detail that they're coming from a man who is technically supposed to be leading the free world, not live posting like a coked-up dad outside of Wetherspoons. Honestly, it was never good, but Trump now posts like a man who's lost custody of the launch codes, but not the ketamine. There was a time when a profanity-laced presidential meltdown would have ended a political career. Now, barely interrupts brunch. Trump's foreign policy appears to be based on the same principle as his domestic policy, namely panic, threats, random capital letters, and all the emotional regulation of a man trying to return a lawnmower without receipt while his third wife films it for evidence. And that's why we do this show. Because the news increasingly feels like being trapped in a lift with a bloke who insists on telling you I'm not racist, but whilst also accidentally leaning on the nuclear button. So while we can't just pretend the bad stuff isn't real, we should absolutely refuse to let a loud, stupid, terrifying man with a Wi-Fi colonise the entire emotional landscape. If we don't actively go looking for decency, progress, absurdity, joy, and weird little signs of hope, then basically we're just agreeing to live permanently inside Donald Trump's comments section, and I think we deserve better than that. So here on Everything's Fine, probably we remain committed to the radical proposition that there is still good stuff happening. Still things worth laughing at, and still reasons not to fling yourself or indeed your phone directly into the sea. And on our 50th episode, that feels like a decent mission statement. So, with that in mind, let's get to it. I've got Gemma, Shelley and Stuart with us, and if anyone can drag meaning, humour and vague psychological stability out of this week's shit carousel, it's this lot.
Yeah,
Aw.
good. So Tuesday the 7th, is it today?
It is, yeah.
7th of April. So we sit on the eve of the end of the world tonight, don't we? 1 a.m, I believe, is the deadline.
Yes.
Tomorrow morning.
Before Donald Trump is threatening to commit genocide.
Well, let's enjoy it whilst we've got some time left. So we just had Easter, haven't we? And Shelley was telling us all about her favourite chocolate bar, which is the crumbliest, flakiest
chocolate. But it's not as nice anymore.
It's not as nice anymore. And you did say you didn't have it in the bath with a lizard, did you?
No, I ate it on the sofa watching Disney Plus.
Yes,
and
that's
now
not
there's
the proper way to tweet a flake. We all know that.
the chocolate marks on the sofa.
And I think there was an unanswered telephone in that advert as well. Remember that one?
There was, yeah.
So did you get any chocolate, Gemma?
Not on Easter Sunday, I didn't.
Okay.
One of my colleagues gave me a few Easter eggs in the run-up, and then we may have had a cheeky Easter egg for breakfast this morning as well.
What flavour?
What flavour? What today?
Yeah.
Today's was I had a Terry's chocolate orange one today.
Oh, classic.
Ooh. Do you know what would be quite nice for breakfast? Maybe having like the egg, half an egg as like a bowl, and then maybe putting some like chocolate cereal in it.
What, Cocoa Pops?
Yeah, something like that, like Choco Hoop, something like that.
The chocolate cereal in a chocolate bowl.
Yeah.
Pour some chocolate milk on it.
Yeah.
This is the healthy way to start the day.
Well, I mean, that's living, right?
Well, breakfast's the most important meal of the day, right?
That's the breakfast, the champions.
That's what billionaires have for breakfast.
I think that's what billionaires do have for breakfast.
When they're not like, I don't know, eating children's souls or something like that.
To do that.
So just before Easter, tell us all about Hunky Jesus. Shelley, that was a really popular feature. Surprisingly, featured well in Vietnam. So hello to all listeners in Vietnam. I hope you enjoyed our feature on Hunky Jesus. We've got some more of that tonight, so keep tuned.
We will come back to Hunky Jesus. We're going to be doing quite a bit of callback stuff actually this week. I'd like to start actually with this, because obviously I mentioned the national embarrassment for America that is Donald Trump. If anyone starts to feel smug that at least our national embarrassment's only a bit damp and underpowered, we should never forget that here in Britain we have our own budget Trump, Nigel Farage, as I like to think of him, Trump from Temu. Nigel Farage is what happens when a pub ashtray gains sentience. He's a sort of low-rent populist tribute act, if a tribute act could smell faintly of warm ale grievance and somebody else's pint.
You're a big fan then, right?
Hugely. Now, the vessel for all this currently is Reform UK, which continues to present itself as a serious political party, despite looking from the outside like a Facebook comment section that somehow got access to a photocopier. If anyone out there is thinking of voting Reform, whether in local elections or, God help us, at a general election, I do think it's worth pausing briefly to examine what's been happening with their Scottish parliamentary candidates. Because on the 15th of January, Nigel Farage said, and I quote, "We are doing everything we can to make sure these candidates for the Scottish Parliament are vetted and are fit and proper people." Now, I'm sorry, but when Nigel Farage says the word fit and proper people, it does sound a bit like Prince Andrew offering safeguarding advice. So, team, I thought we could play a little game. Remember the play your cards, right? Higher and lower.
Oh, it's love.
Well, this is higher or lower, the Reform edition. The rules are very simple. I'll tell you what happened, and you tell me whether the outcome of it was higher or lower than the last scandal.
Okay, yeah.
So, how long did it take a Reform candidate to pull out because he apparently didn't actually want to be a politician?
Okay.
How long do we think that took?
When you say higher or lower, what do you mean?
We won't start with that because we've got to set our first one, so you can have
Then we need a baseline.
This will be your baseline.
We have a baseline. I see.
2 days.
2 days, says Shelley.
That sounds fair. Yeah.
We're going to go 2 days?
Yeah, let's do
that. 2 days. Slightly out. The answer was 5 days. That was Gordon Brown, who performed such a dazzling political U-turn. He may well be recruited by Keir Starmer before the month's end. So that was interesting. Okay, round 2 then. So, higher or lower than 5 days. How long did it take for Reform to suspend another candidate over alleged financial impropriety?
Right, higher or lower than a 5?
Lower.
Lower?
You think lower, Gemma?
Yeah.
All right, lower.
I'm going to go lower. Any idea how long?
2 days.
The answer is actually 1 day. Just one single day. That was Stuart Niven, their candidate for Dundee City West. He was suspended after reports that he'd been banned from acting as a company director for 7 years after diverting thousands of pounds from a taxpayer-backed COVID loan into his personal account.
He sounds good.
Doesn't he?
Yeah.
Okay, final round.
Higher or lower than a 1?
The 1 day. How long do you think it took from Reform announcing its shiny new list of Scottish candidates to one of them being revealed as a Tommy Robinson fan who supports deporting all Muslims?
Do you think this is a trick question and we should go lower?
Lower.
Definitely lower.
Shall we?
Yeah.
Go lower.
Lower than 1
Yeah,
day.
all of them within 5 minutes.
Should we go lower?
Lower than a day?
Lower.
Yeah.
Is correct. The answer is 4 hours. That is not a vetting process. That is just opening the boot of a Vauxhall Sophia outside a pub and seeing who climbs out. This was a guy called Kenneth Morton. He also turns out to be a fan of David Icke, the Elizabeth bloke.
Yeah.
Former Russian president and Kremlin hardliner Dmitry Medvedev, and Alex Jones, the man who, among other things, said Sandy Hook was a hoax.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not saying that Reform has a type, but if your movement keeps attracting men who look like they tried to expense a kidnapping, certain patterns do start to emerge. And because this thing is unfolding like a gazebo in a custody battle, we also had Ronan Jackson, who resigned, saying his candidacy had apparently been announced in error, Linda Holt, who quit after a series of offensive messages, and James Glenn, who quit while expressing support for Linda Holt. Like so much to do with reform, it's a kind of a racist hokey-cokey, isn't it? One in, one out, shake the party about. Accidentally endorse a conspiracy theorist.
Sounds like Christmas #1, doesn't it?
It does.
The racist hokey cokey.
But I think it tells you something very serious about what reform actually is. Every time Nigel Farage talks about ordinary people and common sense, what he seems to mean is a complete inability to distinguish between political candidates and blokes who shouldn't be allowed near children and animals. It's not a government in waiting. It's a car boot sale of unmanaged prejudice.
They sound like a great bunch.
They do, don't they? So look, if Donald Trump is out there threatening to drag the world backwards by force, it's kind of nice to know that Britain's own knockoff version can barely organise a candidate list without accidentally assembling the worst pub quiz team in Europe. On that reassuring note, let's start off by picking up some more things that we talked about last time out. So yeah, Hunky Jesus, popular episode. And we did finish that show with some Jesus news from Shelley. Seems to have gone down very well. So I think we should kick off this week with some more. Shelley, tell us about the only murdered Palestine it's okay to talk about.
So I've just put my safety goggles on. Can't be too careful talking about Hunky Jesus. Anyway, I can't believe all the Jesus news. I mean, I suppose he is pretty relevant at the moment. It's like there's been some sort of significant event in the Christian calendar. In the Philippines, this is moving quite well away from Hunky Jesus. This is mad, really, this story.
Well, it's all on the Jesus news desk, isn't it? So,
it's more moving away from the hunky.
Okay. Well,
rather than the Jesus.
Jesus news is a great feature, so we'll have it all.
That's just, I mean, we have no reason to assume that Jesus was buff all his life.
Yeah, was he like baby
adolescent Jesus
was so buff?
He may have had his Jim Morrison phase.
He might have done.
Yeah, off the rails, Jesus.
So in the Philippines, they have crucifixion reenactments that are held annually on Good Friday. So this is basically volunteers having like nails driven into their hands and feet and being whipped to reenact the suffering of Jesus Christ. But I don't think this is actually something that's widespread across the Philippines, because if there was anyone in the Philippines going, whoa, hang on just a minute. It's actually something that takes place a little bit more in the province of Pampanga. There is, though, one particular devout man called Ruben Anagi who has been doing this reenactment since the 80s. And this year was his 37th and his final year of doing this.
Wow.
So I know.
He's a serious hobbyist, isn't he?
Yeah. So he is actually quite a celebrity regarding it. He's got his own Wikipedia page and everything. And I'm not surprised, in all fairness. He has put the effort in, really, hasn't he?
Does he actually get nailed to the cross?
Yeah, they do physically get nailed to the cross.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a nice family event.
Gemma, do you want to come and hear you look as though you're squirming?
I am squirming just a tad.
Wouldn't be for you then.
I don't think so. No.
This is hardcore devotion to Jesus.
Have they got someone to sort of step up for next year then, or is?
Well, no, more than one. But he's not the only person who does it. They have quite a few people who will do it. He is just the only one.
Sort of like being Santa at Christmas then.
Yeah, it's Jesus and his little helpers. It's like he is the only one who's done it consistently for as many years. He's the only one. I mean, because I should think there's probably not many people that are going to want to do that more than once, really. I
can't imagine there's many people who want to do it.
I mean, I can safely say I don't want to do that. Yeah, I'm okay with not doing that. The other thing that's interesting about him is he's also a carpenter.
He takes
Yeah.
this very seriously,
Yeah.
doesn't he?
He's
Like he was born for the role.
really, yeah. But before taking this on, he was actually he worked in construction, but he somehow managed to survive a serious fall from a unfinished building. Then from that point onwards, he was so thankful that he had survived this awful accident. So this was his way of giving thanks to the Lord for saving him.
Was it a miracle that he survived? An actual? Is he the second coming?
But do you know what? I was thinking about this because if you have people now who claimed like they are Jesus and and who has come back, do you think people would believe them? I mean, I wonder if Jesus is actually sectioned somewhere.
I don't know if that is blasphemy, but it's certainly religious.
People don't have as much faith these days.
No,
So
you're
if
right.
Jesus has come back,
Yeah.
has he actually come back and people have not believed him?
Absolutely. Like back
See,
in the day. Like back in the day.
They didn't believe him then either, did
Yeah.
they? Absolutely.
so I'm not, but they didn't section people back then. They just crucified them.
Well, yeah, same thing. So he
So
might
this
he
is
might
what
be
I'm
yeah, he might.
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
Paul Daniels might have been Jesus.
possibly.
You know, he could do tricks and so on, couldn't he?
No, I mean the Jesus news this week is quite interesting, but I can't help but feel I preferred Hunky Jesus a bit more. Do you have any others?
I've got more information if you want it. You know, I did look into this.
More Jesuses or more
So yeah, so he's actually, his wife really said, I really think enough is enough, because he is now 65. And he's
65.
also got
Don't
his
retire
own
now.
health problems. Health and safety wise, it's concerning.
A little sketchy on the health.
and the rest of it wasn't. Okay, fine.
But the reason behind him doing this is actually quite lovely. So when he first did, so the first 9 years of doing it, like following his accident, was to give thanks for surviving his accident. Then he did another 9 years of doing it because his daughter had severe asthma. So it was actually to help her with her health problems. And then the next 9 years he did it was because his wife is really super healthy. And it was to give thanks for the good health of his wife. But he also will take prayers and things for other people, because obviously in this very devout area, and people really see this as kind of like a high honor of someone to go and do this. So people would give him, he would take prayers for people, like say somebody has a sick relative or anything like that. So people would go to him saying, please can you pray for me? So when he's on the crucifix, he prays for people who are less fortunate or unwell, and for his neighbors and for people he cares about. But he said this year, his last year of doing this year, he prayed for war to end in the Middle East, as there are only 3 countries fighting, yet the whole world is hurting, is what he was quoted.
Well, that went well, didn't it?
Well, give him a chance.
I just think, right, if his daughter's got asthma, why nailing himself to the cross? Does that help in any way? I mean, you've got asthma, right?
Yeah.
Would you like me to nail myself to a cross?
Yes, please.
Do you think that'll help you?
I think it's got to be worth a try, Stu. Let's give it a go. Now, look, Jesus isn't the only hot topic of the moment, of course. You've also, Shelley, been following the search for Samba, the escaped capybara. How's that working out?
There is no news on
no.
Samba,
Oh,
the lost
no.
capybara. Apparently, though, the last thing I saw was a spokesperson from the zoo said they're not concerned. They feel that Samba's probably just sort of making a very nice life for themselves, living on the banks of the River Itchen.
I saw they were putting down badger traps to try and catch it.
They haven't given up searching. They are still searching. But I think, it's starting to look like we are now just going to have wild capybara here.
She's dead, isn't she?
Was she with child when she was lost? Are we going to have? Are we gonna
I I sort of thought that because I bought this T-shirt. I don't know if you can see. It might come up backwards. Look, I got a capybara.
Don't worry. Oh wow, fantastic.
Don't worry, be happy.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
But when I put it on, I did think, what if he's dead?
Shirley, thanks. That's some great updates from last week. If you haven't listened to last week's show, you must be wondering what on earth was going on. Actually, you probably wondered that even if you did. Now, from capybaras and Jesus, we'll move on to another topic from last time out, the jolly world of social media. So last time we talked about the court case lost by Meta and Google YouTube, where they were found to have made deliberately addictive products, and the trials being done on teenagers to see what effect they were having. And we suggested that adults might also have problems giving up social media, right? Well, no sooner had we done this than some newly published Ofcom research came along and proved us wrong. This new research found that the number of adults actively posting, sharing or commenting on social media dropped from 61% in 2024 to 49% last year. And the number of people who feel the benefits of being online outweigh the risks also fell from 72% to 59%. So how about that? Nearly half the country has looked at the internet and gone, nah, I think I've seen enough, thanks.
We all tweet and less.
I'd never really post anything anymore. I just look at what, and also I never think, because I don't think anyone else I know is, because the only thing that's ever in my timeline are like influencers and, videos that people with big followings have made. So
As I think, it has got harder and harder to find your friends on there, hasn't it? We talked last week about how social media no longer really feels like connection or community or a fun little browse. It's more just being mugged by your own attention span. It's just this endless conveyor belt of outrage, ads, dogs in sunglasses, genocide, a man explaining why women secretly love being shouted at. And that's all before 8:15 a.m. in...
Do they? Women like being shouted at, do they?
I don't think so.
Oh.
Do they?
That Manosphere programme, all lies.
We like having stuff about our tits shouted at us.
Do you? Do you like,
totally.
do you like
We like it if a man acts like a cartoon wolf.
Do you like wolf whistle?
Their eyes literally come out on stumps, like, and then an alarm goes off on their head.
And their heart is like going like this.
When the eyes coming, boing, boing, boing.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
You like that, do you? You women?
Oh yeah, all women love that. That doesn't make you feel uncomfortable.
Why wouldn't
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
It's flattering, isn't it?
Okay, cool. If I can bring us back around. So I want to talk about not just how social media's lost its shine, but when any of us are actually better at managing it. And then maybe just move on to some ways that people can take back control of their digital lives without having to go full monk and bury your iPhone in the garden. So I think we all agreed last week that social media's got a bit bleak now. Has it become less fun, do you think, or are we just all older and more tired?
No, I think it's been taken over, isn't it? It's been kidnapped. It's a lot more toxic, isn't it? Than when we first started. It used to be a bit of fun, didn't it? Not a lot of fun now, is it? Not a lot of fun things.
It's pirates versus ninjas.
Yeah.
So when do you think it stopped feeling exciting and started feeling like admin?
Well, I think when all the algorithms got hijacked by like Elon Musk and the big tech bros, they don't want us to have fun. They just want to
buy things,
sell us propaganda and sell us things to buy.
Also, can you remember back in the day when you could choose on Facebook? I am that old. I'm not down with any other socials. I'm really sorry, but you could choose how your feed was given to you. So you could have most recent. So you could literally scroll back to when you were last on to see when your last friend posted, and then have half a ton of adverts, obviously, because that's how it's been for ages. But you could go back to a point and go, okay, now I'm up to date, as opposed to there's got to be something here that I'm interested in, maybe.
Yeah, it just goes on forever.
Do you think that's one of your worst scrolling habits? You just keep scrolling, looking for something.
I've heard that it's like cigarette. I have never smoked, but I've heard smoking described as like the next cigarette will be where you get your little bit of happiness from. And kind of having the cigarette and thinking, well, it's not made me as happy as I was hoping, but maybe if I have another one, it'll be all good.
I mean, Stu, you mentioned the algorithms. Oh, what's the most deranged thing your algorithm thinks that you're into?
Those little horses.
What?
You know, those
In My Little Pony.
no, those
What Shetlands?
no, they're called miniature
Shetland pony.
horses.
Falabellas.
Is that what they're called? Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
Falabellas are like the
I
smallest.
seem to get a lot of that coming up. I'm not sure why. I must have looked at them at some point, I guess.
I mean, it's an interesting thing in terms of algorithms and the fact that your phones are listening to you is, when we did that thing about Women's Day and you said about Wonder Woman was your pick.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and suddenly Wonder Woman starts popping up on my
Yeah.
bloody feed.
Is this what you said the other week, Shelley? This thing called quiet listening?
Soft listening.
When you
your
said
phone's
about
soft
that, I
listening.
started noticing it. It was horrible.
Yeah, it does, and because that's why I ended up with ambient hedgehog music on YouTube. It's not like, say, when you use your search engine and it's like it's not collecting all the cookies and everything in the same way, but it's kind of like the voice technology on your phone is picking up what you're saying. So it's kind of still using like it's doing the analytical sort of stuff at the same time, and then it ends up getting fed into like your social media algorithms and
It's picking up like keywords, that kind of thing.
like the Amazon Nanos and things,
Yeah.
the Echo, sorry,
Yeah.
Echoes, not Nanos. If you speak for ages about something in front with one of those switched on, you will then guarantee you're going to get like whatever that product was advertised on if you then log on to Amazon, you'll get loads of offers for something.
What can we actually do about it? Because that's the important bit. We can all moan about it, but this stuff's genuinely designed to hook us. So the answer isn't going to be everyone having to be morally stronger than 4,000 behavioural scientists in $1 trillion business model. That's not realistic. So I thought we could do something vaguely useful. I've got 7 ways to take back control of your digital life, which I'd like to run through, and you can tell me if you think they're realistic or deranged or actually worth trying. So first one, decide your limit. Basically set a daily time limit for your worst apps and try for once in your life to respect a boundary. It's not easy because your phone's going to keep popping up little passive aggressive messages, but in your heart of hearts, it just wants you to watch something like a woman on TikTok explaining 5 signs your house plants are emotionally unavailable. So has anyone actually used app limits successfully?
No, but I just blocked all my notifications.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the tips that I've got, actually.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. No, I think turning off your notifications is a good idea. It's more sort of pest control, isn't it?
Yeah, it just stops you being tempted to then go and look at what someone who you don't care about has said. So
And that's it. Most of them are absolute nonsense, aren't they? I get ones from Facebook. The rest of you get this. It tells you that someone has commented on a post that you haven't seen.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
What would I give a toss about that?
Yeah.
needy. It's like, just because I've not logged on, I've gone on there for a few days and now and it's because nothing's happening on there. And you've just gone and made an example of that by sending me a notification that nothing is happening.
Something you couldn't be bothered to look at, somebody else has. Right? And I care why. Next one. Go grayscale. Try turning your phone black and white and it immediately becomes less sexy. You can make your phone seem less like a slot machine in your hand to more like a sad fax machine just by taking the colour out. It's meant to reduce the urge to keep checking it. Apparently Charlotte Church does it. She's gone from voice of an angel to digitally enhanced wise woodland witch. Would that work for you, do you think? Or would you feel like you were living in a Scandinavian crime drama?
I don't know. It's like film noir. I think it would put me off of the stupid little games I play all the time. I think I've definitely got more of an issue with games than actually with social media, I think.
Well, certainly all those sort of merge 3 games really wouldn't work in grayscale, would they?
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't. I'm like really addicted to like solitaire tri-peaks. And they do this thing on it. So the faster if you get a whole run of card numbers, if you hit them all really quickly, you get all this boat and it starts making like a really like nice kind of like noise and everything because it's like, and it's kind of like, wow. And you're like, yeah, I know. Like I've got a fan like cheering me on. Like, go Shelley. 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
All right, next up. Create some phone-free rituals. Might be meals or first hour after waking or before bed. Now, I know that's sensible, but it's also depressing how difficult it is now to just sit on the sofa without instinctively checking whether someone you vaguely dislike has had a worse day than you. I do think the no phone first thing in the morning ones, especially solid. I don't really want my day to start with war, inflation, celebrity divorce, anything like that. But do any of you have a part of the day where your phone is genuinely banned?
No.
No, I actually don't. I don't think I could poo without a phone.
Oh, right. I do draw the line there,
I end
actually.
up in hospital with bowel
Yeah,
obstruction.
yeah, I do draw the line there, actually. Yeah. Well, I don't use it on the toilet, no.
Okay.
Not like Shelley when she's having a poo.
Okay.
Little insight there.
Yeah, this is taking us in places I didn't know we were going. Okay.
Because I always think that's a bit dirty, right? Because, you know, I hope you wash your hands
Of course I do.
afterwards and during.
And clean your phone.
Yeah,
I
clean.
do, you know, I make sure I keep it away from any hand contact. Oh, come on, though. I had to have that because there's only so many times you can read the toxic shock information leaflet inside a box of tampons.
Well, you say that, but I read it every time.
Yeah, and you've never had toxic shock syndromes.
The next one, set controls. So I know this can sound a bit humiliating as an adult, but apparently there are proper settings and blockers you can use, not just for kids, but for yourself. And it's only protecting yourself. It's like an act of counter-terrorism. That's been designed to psychologically outwit you, so a bit of outside help's not a weakness. Ever tried putting hard blockers on yourself?
No.
No, I probably should.
How do you even do that? Say what?
I think this is all really good and earnest, but I don't think I'm going to do it, any of it. I just don't.
That's entirely up to you.
No, but I know I should.
Yeah. No, these are all hopefully good tips to
It's
try and help you and our listeners in there.
It's just like an addict talking, isn't it? I'm in complete denial, saying that I've got a handle on it and I'm not prepared to do any of these things.
Yeah. Nothing you could do, just delete the apps. If you delete the apps, you've got to go on via the server. That means remembering your password and the login process. And I bet you won't be tempted to check every few minutes if you had to go through all that rigmarole.
But I think I would start shaking if I took all my apps off.
Facebook?
I'd get rid of X.
X, yeah, it's pretty horrible.
Yeah, that's pretty toxic.
But all the social apps, they're not what they were.
Please, I wasn't asking you which one you could get rid of because you don't care about it anymore. Which one getting rid of would improve your life?
Improve your life.
Google Play.
Final tip: just curate your feed. So stop feeding the algorithm sewage and then acting surprised when it brings you more sewage. So stop watching rage bait, weird conspiracy clips, couples doing fake arguments in surprisingly well-lit kitchens. And the app is naturally conclude. If you do that, that's what you want. So follow stuff that is actually useful and funny and calming, or at least involves a cat in pajamas. And you'll get more.
I mean, cats are always good, aren't they?
Yeah.
Cats are always
Definitely.
So look, there's 7 ways to reclaim your attention from a machine that spent the last 15 years trying to convert your inner life into ad revenue.
But do you think we're going to do that, though? Any of us, honestly?
Do you think we should try and make a pact to do at least one of those things between this week and even if it's only for a week? I reckon we should try doing one.
All right.
How about some phone-free rituals?
Yeah.
Some times when we will not use.
Let's do that. So perhaps don't use it when you're having a poo, Shelley. How about that?
I will.
Just some simple ones. First half hour in the morning.
All right.
The last half hour before bed. And meal times.
Yeah, I mean, meal times anyway. That's common, isn't it? Getting your phone out at meal times. It's not how I was brought up.
Oh, no.
You were brought up without a mobile phone, Stu.
Oh, yeah.
Boundaries. Then we can report back and see what.
Okay, let's try it.
Give it a go. The thing is, people are starting to do this. It's not necessarily easy. We've all got addicted. But people are becoming a bit more sceptical, a bit more selective, a bit less willing to hand over their entire nervous system.
Yeah.
Maybe we're making
what would we do instead in these little half an hours?
Well, do you know, hopefully all this can take us back to a time when we all felt a bit happy, a bit more hopeful, because there are signs that people want to do that. I mean, Stu, you've been looking into some of this. What are some of the things people could do?
You go back to the 90s, right? You've locked yourself out of your house. You left your keys in your house. What are you going to do? What would you have done in the 90s if you'd have locked yourself out?
I'd just go around mates and wait for my parents to come home.
Yeah, so you can't.
Tried to smash a window because my parents were never there.
Yeah, exactly. You can't sit there on your TikTok and kill a bit of time. Can't text a friend to vent. Just sitting there on the doorstep, bored, aren't you? But at the same time, that wasn't necessarily a tragedy for us, was it? It was just something to put up with. Reading recently, there's been a shift in Gen Z. They're the first generation born into a fully plugged in world. They're now looking back at that analog era as somewhere they would like to be. They're kind of looking at that as a golden age, and they call it going 90s. We were there, and well, as they say, if you can remember it, you weren't there. But that's where they want to go, going 90s. Gen Z has discovered something profound. They aren't looking for our old CDs or our oversized flared trousers. They're looking at the freedom.
Are you sure you're not looking at the 60s here, Stu?
No, can you remember not remember
the
the 90s? Yeah,
Yeah, they and like wide leg jeans.
Yeah,
parachute pants and all that stuff.
All the baggy. So they're looking at the freedom to be forgotten. In the 90s, we did live in a state of ignorance, didn't we? If you wanted to meet a friend, again, what would you do in the 90s if you wanted to meet a friend? How would you arrange that?
I'd normally give them a call.
You had to ring like the parents' home.
Yeah. Wasn't that always the worst when you got someone's dad?
Yeah, you had to go, oh, hello, in the house, can I speak to Rachel, please?
And then you'd say, right, come on, I'll meet you by the left lion outside the county hall. And you'd pick a point there. And I'll see you there at the left lion at 4:00. Then what happened? What about if someone didn't turn up? No, people just go, I'm not coming.
You would then not speak to them at school on Monday.
Do you think that was better or worse? Do you think that made us more reliable, more reason to commit to things?
I suppose having technology isn't an excuse to keep letting people down all the time, is it? But at the same time, it is quite nice to be able to go, where are you? And I wouldn't take being able to message people away. I think actually that was a good thing.
Good thing in the 90s was we had the freedom to screw up, didn't we, without it being recorded? Because would you want some of your 90s escapades now on Facebook? And I think we've got a whole generation who have got that. It does go against you because we're all looking at each other, aren't we? Employers do it. I'm sure they're not allowed. Is that true, Jim? You're not meant to do that, are you?
You're not supposed to take it into account in a recruitment decision necessarily, but
it does go on, doesn't it?
The trouble, once you put something out there, you're putting it into the public domain, so you can't then complain that somebody's looking at it. You put it there.
I don't have time to look at people's social media, to be honest, if I'm employing someone. So I'd say that they're pretty safe. I've never even thought of it. It's not occurred to me.
Gen Zs, as we said, they're beginning to put the phones down and they're creating what they're now calling boredom gaps. They're trying to get back to the 90s because can you remember there were periods of time when being a bit bored was a thing, wasn't it? Can you remember when you used to get a bit bored? There were periods there where you could just sit there and just go, oh, I'm quite bored.
I used to quite like looking forward to getting things because now everything's instant. I think that's probably one of the things that I really miss from that time. Like if you had your like subscriptions to like magazines and papers and things. I remember with my teens like waiting to get the NME so I could find out what bands were coming and and like if they and you wouldn't know until you got you couldn't look online. So
you saying that it's kind of like this, the whole being able to binge watch a series. I think back in the day you used to look forward down at whatever time it was on a Friday evening and catch it.
And you had to wait until like you would go and see people the next day and go, did you watch whatever it was? Because you had to have either watched, or they'd be like, no, I taped it, please don't say anything.
That shared experience of stuff has become completely different now, isn't it?
And you used to get, for a big show, you could get like 20 million people watching it all at the same time. It really did create a sense of community. And I think also we had half a dozen newspapers, 4 channels. There was a broadly agreed consensus on what the news is and what we're generally all thinking. But now we've got the social media and the internet. There's billions of points of view, isn't there? So it's no wonder everything's so shattered and fragmented because everybody's just coming at that point of view from so many angles. But we were all broadly on the same page, weren't we? And I think that's made a sort of huge difference. The article was from Emma Beddington, and she said the 90s were the last decade where we didn't have to document our lives, sort of to prove we were living them. And there is that as well, because I'm not going to mention them, but I do know people who get FOMO, for instance. Now, I get the opposite. I mean, I genuinely couldn't give... But
I know who you're talking about.
But some people, they feel like they're missing out, and they're looking at people living their lives, and then they're thinking, oh, why didn't I get invited to this? And they don't like me. And, you know, we didn't have any of that. Emma goes on to say that apparently today we are all confused husks. Do you consider yourself to be a confused husk?
I actually think that's probably the fairest description I've ever heard of myself. I wish I'd thought of it myself.
Yeah. The reason she's saying we're confused husks is we're trying to process our digital culture with our analog brains. It's too much for us. We shouldn't be living in a world with this much information. It's no wonder people are getting anxious, isn't it? Or stressed. There's a lot to process. Do this, put the bins out, do, you know, all these like reminders just pinging at you. I mean, what's wrong with just forgetting to put the bins out? Old school. Going 90s isn't about being anti-tech. It's about, I think this is right, about being pro-presence. Realising that, you know, sometimes it's quite good to just be a bit spontaneous as well, isn't it? Sometimes you say, I've seen adverts advertising latest tech. Where's this shop? Where can I'm going camping. And the AI is telling it to go here, here, and here, and go, AI, is it going to rain today? Put your coat. I just think that's too much. I think we've got to just get out and just trust ourselves a little bit, not just getting AI to tell us what to wear. I think it's quite good to forget as well. What's wrong with forgetting? Oh, I forgot. What's wrong with that?
Can't remember, Stu.
We used to just, oh yeah, I forgot about that. But now you just can't forget anything, can you? Gen Z's saying they can't forget, can they? Because they've lived their life online and it's always there. When you're like 20s or whatever, 30s, you know, we make decisions, we do things that were right at the time. But when you're a bit older, you don't necessarily want to see that. You don't want everyone else to see it as well. The challenge, what Emma's saying is, you don't need to go back to pages or start wearing a mood ring. What does that mean?
A mood ring? I forgot about mood
I've forgotten
rings.
mood
Gemma, did
rings
you
as
have a
well.
mood ring?
Yeah, I did.
I don't.
Yeah.
Is that a 90s thing?
Yeah, they were like these. They had like a little sort of gemstone thing on them that wasn't real. It was obviously plastic, but it had colour change in it.
Right.
So and you got like a little sort of menu with it, if you like. So it told you what all the different colours meant that your mood. Yeah, it would explain what your mood was by the colour your ring went.
That's what she's saying. Well, we don't need to get one of those.
I want one.
Or get a pager. What she's suggesting, that very much sort of dovetails into what Jim was saying. You know, leave your phone in the drawer when you go out. Go to the Left Lion and take your risk and see who shows up at 4 o'clock. Allow yourself to be a bit bored. Daydream as well. Stare at the wall for a bit. What's wrong with that? 90s.
Yeah, you don't have to put a pin on the map to show where you are.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the 90s, not a time period as such, are they? They're a state of mind. This belief that life is what happens when you're not looking at the screens. As we said, nostalgia's not what it used to be. People look back and think the 90s were great, don't they? But at the same time, it could be a little bit boring. You could go to the Left Lion, standing on your own in the rain because you didn't know what the weather was. So there we are.
Because there was no such thing as a weather forecast then. You had to go see the druid to go and find out what the weather was going to be.
And hang the seaweed on your gate. I think every generation does that, don't they? They always look back and think, oh, that was so much better then. And it was different. That's all, isn't it? It was different. I liked growing up in the 90s. That's the last sort of decade I can honestly say I felt there was some kind of freedom. Whether it was or not, who knows?
I suppose it's just nice to be able to look back and feel grateful for some things that you have in your past. Yeah. But we're proudly not Gen X.
Gen X is the best, right, Jim?
I feel sorry for you both not being Gen X, but it's okay. It's not your fault. It's an accident of birth. Speaking of returning to the happy days of the 90s, the Scottish have decided to take this even further and turn the clock back to the 1890s with the Greenhouse Project in Glasgow. Gemma has the lowdown.
Just north of Glasgow, something extraordinary is happening. Not in a shiny new building, but inside a grand old one that's been quietly waiting for its second chance. But the Springburn Winter Gardens, once Scotland's largest and most spectacular greenhouse, has stood silent. Built in 1892, it was a Victorian marvel, a cathedral of glass and iron that hosted classical concerts, exotic plant displays, and generations of families wandering through warm, fragrant air, even on the coldest Scottish days. But like the surrounding neighbourhood, the gardens fell into decline after the war. And in 1983, a devastating storm forced the Winter Gardens to close. The glasshouse slipped into dereliction, rusting, collapsing, and becoming a ghost of its former self. For decades, it's looked like the story might end there. Except the people of Springburn had other ideas. Locals grew up visiting the greenhouse, refused to let it be demolished. Their memories of concerts, community events, and the sheer magic of the place were too strong. So in 2012, they formed the Springburn Winter Gardens Trust, determined to save the structure brick by brick, beam by beam. Their first major milestone came in 2017, when they managed to stabilise parts of the building to stop further collapse. And now the real turning point has arrived. The Trust has just secured 1.1 million from Scotland's Regeneration Capital Grant Fund, a programme designed to breathe life back into community spaces in disadvantaged areas. This funding will allow the team to take the next bold step, transforming the greenhouse into what they call a living ruin. So what does that mean? Well, imagine a historic structure that isn't fully restored to its original Victorian glory, not yet, but is made safe, accessible, and alive with people again. Think of a beautifully stabilised open-air shell, like a ruined church or an old bandstand, where the architecture becomes part of the experience. That's the vision. Sarah Robinson Frood, whose company Innovate Rural is helping lead the project, describes this phase as essential, making the building safe, stopping further decay, and opening it back up to the public. Technical reports have shown the structure is in a precarious state, so this funding is literally saving it from collapse. But it's not just about preservation, it's about possibility. Once stabilised, the Winter Gardens could become a vibrant hub for arts and culture. Plans include performance spaces, leasable studios, heritage exhibitions, community allotments, food events, and even a cafe or bar nestled inside the historic ironwork. Some proposals even imagine the Victorian garden behind the glass house becoming an active market garden and festival space. And perhaps the most beautiful part, the community is thrilled. Locals describe the Winter Gardens as part of their DNA, a place woven into family stories and neighbourhood identity. One trust member told BBC Scotland that this funding is the beginning of the structure being brought back to life, and that people are really willing this on. It's a reminder that regeneration isn't just about buildings, it's about belonging. It's about community saying, we remember what this space meant, and we believe it can mean something again. So here's to Springburn Winter Gardens, the greenhouse that refused to be forgotten. After 4 decades of silence, it's finally stepping back into the light.
That made me think, have you seen like when you get nice images of like ruined places and they've kind of gone all wild and they sort of look really beautiful at the same time? It's a bit like that, isn't it?
It is like that. The pictures look stunning, and so, yeah,
Joe, was
just like that.
earlier. I thought it's just something really Scottish about taking a crumbling Victorian greenhouse and making it haunted and beautiful and available for weddings. Quite right too. I like to stick with the Scots, actually, because we've given them shout outs for rewilding projects on this show before, and I'm delighted to report that the trees, birds, and assorted weird little beasts have apparently taken that support and absolutely run with it. We've said before how well nature can thrive when humans stop treating the world like it's just a badly managed car park. It comes back almost immediately and quite aggressively. And there's been what researchers are calling a dramatic increase in biodiversity at rewilding sites across Scotland. So researchers surveyed wildlife at more than 100 rewilding sites across Scotland and compared them with nearby non-rewilded land. The results are ridiculous in a good way. So on rewilded land, the number of bird species was up 261%, the number of breeding territories was up 546%. And for bumblebees and butterflies, the number of species more than doubled, while their abundance increased more than tenfold. That's astonishing. That's not just nature recovery. That's nature kicking the door off its hinges and saying, right, bitches, I'm back. Where have you put the owls?
Put the owls?
Oh, the owls.
I've not heard that phrase before.
Well, you have now.
They're in owl storage.
Do it again. That phrase.
Right, bitches, I'm back. Where have you put the owls?
I'm going to use it.
It would sound better if Samuel L. Jackson said
it would sound better. I think we should just use it any time out of context. People just like, what does that even mean? Well, it means nature's back, baby.
And this was all coordinated, by the way, by Scotland, the big picture.
Scotland,
the big picture.
I'm more from Edinburgh. Scotland. That's a bit.
I've been to Edinburgh. I've never heard anyone speak that.
I'm from Scotland.
So, okay.
That is the first time I've heard you do a different accent other than your Dubai influencer accent.
Don't get him started, honestly.
You do.
We'll be cancelled in no time.
This
story cuts to a lot of the nonsense you sometimes hear about environmental action, where people talk as if nature recovery is impossible or painfully slow, or things that isn't going to happen. But this is proof that if you give ecosystems a bit of space, stop battering them constantly, maybe plant something other than ornamental gravel, they'll recover surprisingly fast. Does rewilding basically prove that the planet would thrive if humans just sat down and shut up for 5 minutes?
I mean, look what happens with lockdown.
Absolutely.
You know, the planet started healing itself, didn't it? Nature kind of was allowed to just do its thing. You know, carbon emissions went down. Good
time.
Yeah,
it was like The Day After Tomorrow, wasn't it?
That's a bit.
Can you remember that movie?
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, the Earth has healed itself." It was really stupid, but
I think it would.
Space
I'm not sure it healed itself overnight, but it wouldn't take
it's
long.
clean.
No.
Okay, 2 questions for you then. If you could reintroduce one species next, what would it be? And how long will it be before the Daily Mail starts claiming butterflies are woke?
Oh no. So one species we want to...
Yeah, one species you just bring back if you could.
Is it extinct?
Rewilding.
Is it extinct? Or is it a rare
No,
thing?
it'd have to be around, struggling.
Can we have bears in this country?
Why not? We used to.
Did we?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm going to pick bears. Anyone else?
And wolves were as well, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
What about those pigs with tusks?
Oh, boars.
Boars.
See, all of those things are pretty aggressive, aren't they?
How about pine martens? Let's get them on the rise.
Yeah,
I think we do have them. They're very rare.
But let's get them.
Well, look, while we're talking about Scotland, I have more proof that wildlife conservation works if you commit to it and you don't just launch, a logo and a consultation. Over in Orkney, one of the UK's rarest Manimals. That
was a great show.
Man their peg.
You could turn into a panther.
Anything.
Panther and an eagle, I think, was it?
Eagle, panther, manimal. They're going to put manimals in Scotland.
No. Afraid not. Because over in Orkney, one of the UK's rarest mammals is apparently thriving again. And this one's brilliant. It's basically a targeted anti-stoat operation, leading to a tiny vole renaissance. So the Orkney vole, which is found nowhere else in the world, has seen its highest activity level since 2019, thanks to efforts to remove invasive stoats from the island. If any listeners have a case of invasive stoats, please seek help immediately. And it's not just the voles benefiting either. Oh no. The number of hen harrier breeding attempts, that's hit its highest level since the project began. Short-eared owls are doing better too. And this is because stoats, charming though they look in the abstract, are basically tiny, furry assassins. They arrived in Orkney, upset the ecosystem, started eating the voles, and generally behaved like they were auditioning for the role of knife crime in a children's picture book. So conservationists, having thought bloody stoats coming over here eating our voles, launched this long-running effort to get rid of them. And lo and behold, remove the problem, ecosystem starts knitting itself back together again. Useful lesson in ecology, that. And once again, Scotland is left to play the competent older sibling of the UK, getting on with fixing things while England plays with its Duplo. So how do we feel about this panel?
What great wildlife story that is, increasing the
Vulnerable.
biodiversity in
I
Scotland.
was thinking,
Yeah.
though, about how cute weasels are. And they're part of the Stoat family, aren't they? Weasels, stoats.
I think Stokes look like they should be solving mysteries in waistcoats.
No, I think they're not. They're cute and fun.
Well, maybe so, but are they cute enough to get away with being ecological villains?
What's the bigger
But they just need a better
version?
PR team. So look, just summarise, the good news from Scotland this week is basically restore the greenhouse, let the woods come back, move the stoats, and suddenly the birds, bees, butterflies, owls and voles all start behaving like they've just been told the Tories are gone. It's a really hopeful set of stories. They remind us decline isn't always permanent, places can recover, wildlife can recover, even ecosystems that look knackered can bounce back if somebody just bothers to help. And in a week where a lot of the wider news has been around making the future sound like, quite frankly, a waking nightmare, it's genuinely nice to know that in parts of Scotland, at least, everything is, biologically speaking, going absolutely off. Great, yeah, I think it's a great story for us to finish on, because we have kept coming back in this episode to talking about people who dominate headlines by being loud and toxic and threatening, or all of them altogether. But that's not the thing that makes the world bearable, is it? It's this sort of thing. It's acts of kindness and decency. People repairing things instead of smashing them. That kind of stuff. On that note, I think that's probably where we should leave it for this week. So this has been Everything's Fine, probably your weekly antidote to bad news. If you've enjoyed the show, or if it has in any way helped you feel at least 5% less like hurling yourself into a canal, please do all the usual podcast things. Like, share, subscribe, leave us a review, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell that one weird bloke from work who keeps trying to explain crypto at lunch. I appreciate that earlier in the show we did spend quite a lot of time discussing the corrosive attention harvesting machinery of the modern internet, but if you could now use that same machinery to help us out, that would be absolutely lovely. Go on, weaponise the algorithm for good. You can also find us on socials. I know that's a bit like saying we hate the casino. We'll be by the fruit machines if you need us, but come and say hello anyway. Thanks as always to Gemma, Shelley and Stuart for joining me and helping once again to drag a few signs of life, hope and basic human dignity out of the flaming skip of the weekly news cycle. And also to you for listening. If you've made it this far, you're either very loyal, slightly unwell, or trapped under something very heavy. Finally, in the spirit of this week's episode, I think it's only right we close with a short message to Donald Trump, Nigel Farage, all the other swaggering little grievance goblins who mistake cruelty for strength and noise for leadership. Fuck you.
Hey!
Not respectfully, not diplomatically, just fuck you. The world is better than you, people are better than you, and despite your absolute best efforts, kindness, joy, humour, decency and hope are still there. Must be deeply irritating for you. See you all next week.
I think that might be the best outro.